Okay, so today we're going to be talking about audience analysis. I always like to start with quotes. Tip O'Neill was a longtime congressman from Massachusetts, represented Boston. Okay, he was the Speaker of the House for 10 years for most of the time that Ronald Reagan was president. Okay, he said in America, all politics are local. What do you think Speaker O'Neill meant by that?
America is all over, like home and
Okay, speak up loud enough for everybody to hear it. It's a public speaking class.
today is not ready.
Okay, then say it again so I know how to repeat it.
I don't know how to repeat. It's the America is all over homes.
America is home to everybody. Okay, I can see that. What else might he have been thinking? Elijah?
Because we live in a democracy, we're all going to vote.
Because we live in a democracy, we're all going to vote. Okay, but what are we going to vote for? Not who are we going to vote for, but what are we going to vote for? And why are we going to vote one way or the other?
I guess education.
Okay, not be more generic than that. What are we going to vote for? Let's go. Why would we choose a Republican or a Democrat?
Our beliefs.
Our beliefs. Our self-interest. What we consider important. Do we vote for things that we consider to be important to the world or to even the entire country? What do we vote on? What question do we ask when we go to the polls? How's this going to affect me and my family? How's this going to affect my community? How's this going to affect maybe the state of South Carolina? But for a lot of people, and I think Tip O'Neill would have said most people, okay, they want to know how what you're talking about affects their community. Okay? Because in America, all politics are local. And we can talk about national defense all day long. But if you can't communicate to me why we should spend more money on the Army and how that's going to affect Aiken County, South Carolina, I'm not interested. Okay? Everybody understand that? Okay, what we're going to talk about today is how you figure out what's local. Because as public speakers, you may not always be speaking from your neighborhood. Okay, how many people in here live in Aiken County? How many people live outside of Aiken County? Tam, you don't live anywhere? Where do you live? I gave you two choices, inside or outside. It's got to be one or the other. You live inside Aiken County? Okay. Y'all people live outside Aiken County. Where do you live? Augusta?
Edgefield.
Edgefield? I'm sorry. Who else?
Martin.
I'm sorry too.
I'm sorry.
Grovetown.
What?
Grovetown.
Grovetown. I live in Grovetown. I'm really sorry. Okay? All right? Grovetown is now becoming the home of the strip mall. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I-20 there on, every time I drive in, they're putting in a new strip mall.
Yeah.
They're at I-20. Okay?
Hey, I like the Chick-fil-A there, though. They're building a new Wild Wings there.
Okay. Thank you both for giving me the perfect example. Okay? Development in general terms, we're beginning to believe that development is not necessarily good. We don't need to just keep mowing down trees and building more buildings. Am I right? People are beginning to be concerned about the planet. But Tip O'Neill would tell you, if I can convince you that, hey, we're going to have a Chick-fil-A, we're going to have a Wild Wings, we're going to have a Shane's Ribs, okay? We're getting an Aldi's, okay? That makes that global, deforestation of the country, I care about that, but dude, we're getting a Wild Wings, okay?
I just did it because I got to advertise I work there, so.
Okay. Are you going to be working at the Grovetown Wild Wings?
Possibly.
Okay.
They're doing like a lot of transfers where we'll be going back and forth.
Okay. So, to Ms. Kenuette, it's an economic issue. Okay? Everybody understand what I'm saying there? Thank you guys for giving me the perfect example. Because I don't give in deforestation, we've got 100,000 acres. I can't assess 100,000 acres. I can't assess, y'all see that commercial from that, it's a stupid commercial where they said, every day, every hour, we cut down 6,900 trees for paper products. Have y'all seen that? Or 69,000 trees? Anybody know what 69,000 trees look like? No, but I know what a Wild Wings looks like. Okay? Everybody understand what I'm saying? Now, do I care if they build a new Wild Wings in Grovetown? I really don't. Another person against Wild Wings.
No, I don't care. I don't
Okay.
care.
I just work there. I don't care if we have any business. Doesn't make any difference to me. Okay? But but the Aldi's, when I heard that we were getting an Aldi's up there, I was going like, I can do some Aldi's. Okay? Aldi's got great gluten-free selections, which with me drives my, I have celiac disease. I can't eat gluten. So if a store with a reputation for having a lot of gluten-free food comes in, you tell me we're getting an Aldi's?
Cut the trees down.
Cut the trees down. Get them out of there. You tell me we're getting a Trader Joe's. You can kill a panda. No, that's a joke. That's a joke. I've got 3 people over here going, oh, I'll kill you. Okay? But everybody understands in America, all politics are local now, right? You have to make issues relevant to the audience or your constituencies. Okay? And that's what we're going to be talking about. Even Aristotle, if you look back, we've seen this model before. If you look back at Aristotle, he made the audience, and more importantly, the effect your speech has on your audience, as 2 integral parts of his communication model. Everybody remember seeing that before? Mm-hmm. Okay? So while you will hear speakers say, I don't put that much effort into looking at my audience. I figure after I give the speech often enough, I've pretty much got it, to where, okay, my question is, what the hell are you doing there then? Okay, if you're giving a speech and you don't care about who that individual audience is, why are you bothering? Send a videotape. Email them an MPEG of you giving the speech, because you're going to be just as effective, if not more. Because if you send it on an MPEG and it's already a video that's already been canned, you're probably going to be short and talk faster. Okay? Your audience is the reason you're there. So what we're going to talk about today is how we analyze the audience and what we do with that information. And again, remember when we talked last time about selecting your topic? Where does analyze the audience fit into that process?
Consider.
What?
Consider.
It's considered, but where in the process? Beginning, middle, end?
Beginning.
It's one of the first 3 things you think about. What are the 3 things you think about first?
Speaker, audience, and occasion.
Speaker, audience, and occasion. Okay, and I told you we'd be talking about audience analysis in detail later on. Well, this is later on. We're talking about that now. Audience analysis should be one of the very first things you do when you begin to look at giving it, when you are deciding you're going to give a speech. First thing you have to do is you have to demonstrate relevance. You have to give that audience. We're going to talk about the difference between listening and hearing. Hearing is a passive process. Some of you hear me. It's basically impossible not to hear me in this classroom. But does that mean you're listening? Listening is an active process. Okay? You have to demonstrate relevance, or they are going to hear you, but they're not going to listen. Everybody understand that concept? It's vital to this entire talk we're about to have. First way to demonstrate is to demonstrate timeliness. Okay? Not only does it have to be relevant to your audience in time, it has to be something that's happening now. An action needs to be taken now. This is knowledge you need today. Okay? But it also has to be something that is relevant to the people you're standing in front of right then. One of the problems that the global warming coalition, I always want to say global warming crowd, but that is, implies something there. That's a loaded word. The global people that have been talking about global warming when they first started talking about it way back in the 1980s, okay, before some of you guys were born, one of the things they were talking about was if we don't start taking action soon, in 100 years from now, the planet will have gone through a massive ecologic shift. Well, the 2 time frames you get out of that are soon and 100 years from now. Do you guys really care about what's going to be happening 100 years from now? Long-term planning in our country is about 10 to 12 years. I mean, and soon, yeah, okay, I'll get to it next week. My doctor tells me I should lose some weight. I'll say, I'll do it soon. Okay? Been having that same conversation with doctors for a long time. We have not gotten to soon yet. Okay? All right? Soon doesn't define anything. So throughout the 80s, throughout the 90s, throughout most of the 80s, they were saying we're going to run out of fossils. There was two things going on. We're going to run out of fossil fuels. The fossil fuels are destroying the ecology. So a lot of people were going like, well, let's wait till we run out of oil. It'll take care of itself. But the thing about in the 80s with the debate about global climate change was, well, it's not going to happen for 100 years. Who cares? We'll deal with it then. Okay? The people who were concerned about global climate change failed horribly in making it relevant to the people in the latter part of the 20th century. When the 1990s rolled around, people were so used to hearing people banging that drum, but not making it real, people began to think the arguments were fake. Now we've gotten to a point where even the U.S. government is saying, if we don't make massive changes in the next 12 to 15 years, we will reach a CO2 concentration in the atmosphere that will have an irreversible effect on the planet. So now, most world governments are beginning to go, okay, we have to take action. But at this point in the process, who knows if it's too late? I guess we're going to find out. Okay? But everybody understand what I mean by timeliness. Okay? And more important than that is you need to, if it's something financial or something like that, if I'm telling you guys, here's the hardest sell in the world. How many of y'all have jobs that have like a 401k? A couple of people. All right? You guys look like you're all in your 20s or maybe 30s, okay? When somebody came up to you and said, hey, you should start putting 5% of your salary in your 401k because your retirement's going to be coming up, what's your initial reaction? I'll tell you what my initial reaction was. Dude, I got a car payment due at the end of the month. Okay? Fortunately, I married a very smart woman who told me I would start investing in my retirement account. Okay? And it's worked out great. But when I start talking about retirement accounts to 18 and people that are 18 to 25, what are they going to say? I'll get to it sooner or later. When there is one county in South Carolina where the average retirement account is $14,000. Now, I'm not going to say that those people had money to invest. That's just an indicator. But folks, $14,000 ain't going to get you through your retirement. Okay? I'm bailing on the workforce for the next 2 years. I'm planning on living to be in 100. That means I got 40 years to cover. Okay? My mother lived to 92. She was retired for 32 years. That's my life goal right there. To be retired and have them make it, say, multiple decades. Okay? So you got to prove that it's relevant right now. Then you have to be able to prove it's relevant right here. If I ask you to, show of hands, if I put up a big map of the world, how many people could point to Tuvalu, Marshall Islands, Kwajalein Atoll? Exactly. Military people know where those are because there's military bases on 2 of those. Okay? Fiji? Okay, do you guys realize that those are all... Kwajalein Atoll is that it's just a big American base. But 3 of those are Pacific Island nations. And if global warming continues at the rate it's going, in the next 15 to 20 years, those 3 nations will cease to exist. Okay? For some of those Pacific Island nations, high point above mean sea level is like 8 to 12 feet. So, we say, oh, well, 12 inches. No, because then when you get a storm and you get waves that are 9 feet high, those nations will cease to exist. Okay? That's very dramatic. Are you willing to pay more taxes to save Tuvalu or Fiji? I got one person that's saying yeah. Because I am a human and proximity to me is anything on this planet. The answer, according to the United States Congress, is not so much. Because Congress has over and over again had a chance to deal with the greenhouse gases and have never really effectively taken a hold of it. But let me ask you this, as South Carolinians, if I told you that if the sea levels rise as little as 9 inches, Charleston will be a thing of the past. It will be flooded, and the downtown area that we all know of Charleston is going to be gone. Now, are you listening? How about if I tell you this? The second biggest employer in the state of South Carolina is tourism. I don't know if that's true. It's probably maybe the first. And all of that tourism is located on the coast around the Low Countries, and that's all going to be gone. So you're going to lose tens of thousands of jobs. And on top of all of that, to build the infrastructure to deal with the new high water, we're going to have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in new infrastructure to deal with the new rising river levels. We're going to have to build dikes around the rivers because that's all the floodplains are going to back up into the state. So the state's going to lose tens of thousands of jobs. We're going to lose the city of Charleston. We're going to lose the the Marine base at Beaufort because that's going to be underwater. That's another 30,000 jobs. And then you're going to have to pay more taxes to deal with all of that. Do I have your attention now? I'm not saying you're horrible people and you don't care about people that live on Pacific Island states. But all politics are local. And if you can't make it relevant, say it's going to happen here, it's going to affect you, it's going to affect your pocketbook, people just aren't going to care. Because that's the way humans are. I'm not faulting anybody that happens to. Okay? Everybody with me? Okay? And we've already hinted at this a little bit. You also have to demonstrate personal impact. You have to make it relevant. So you have to make it now, you have to make it here, and you have to make it then. Okay? You have to make it to where it affects individuals. What's something that affects most individuals that you can say, hey, listen, I can throw a line out there and I can say, we're going to do this for blank. What can I fill that in with and have it affect everybody? Or almost everybody? The children. Hey, listen, we're only thinking about the children when we're doing this. Okay? You hear that every politician in the world, except for some reason our president doesn't go for that line, but Lindsey Graham does it all the time. Governor McMaster, I've heard him do it. Nikki Haley did it. Okay? Hey, listen, the most important thing we have to consider is our children. All right? So you have to make it relevant to the people, where they are, and what time it is. Okay? Everybody understand that? So you also have to know the audience's initial disposition. What do you think I mean by their initial disposition?
They react whenever you first start talking about a subject.
That's exactly correct.
Oh.
She was a little surprised. That's exactly correct. Wow, right, all right. Their initial disposition is their thoughts on whatever it is you're talking about when you begin your speech. Okay? So let's jump in. I'm here to talk to you. I'm from the Nuclear Power Coalition, which is really an anti-nuclear group that wants to shut down all the nuclear reactors in the United States. I come to Aiken County, South Carolina, to speak to the Aiken County Chamber of Commerce, the business leaders of Aiken County. If I come and roll into Aiken County and start talking about shutting down nuclear reactors, what's the audience's initial disposition going to be toward me?
They don't give you a funny look like crazy.
They're not going to give you a funny look. They're going to run you out of town. They're going to get torches and pitchforks, and they're going to... Okay, because what's the single biggest employer in Aiken County? Savannah River Plant. Okay? If I come in here and I say, hey, listen, our military is overblown. We're spending too much money on defense. We got to cut our defense spending. What's the second biggest employer in Aiken County? Fort Gordon. Okay? There's like 8,000 or 8 or 10,000 people that drive across that I-20 bridge every day from Aiken going to work at Fort Gordon. And so if I come rolling in here, plus there's also, people in South Carolina are good Americans. We appreciate our national defense. We appreciate our service members. Okay? That's another, yeah. Okay? So you want to know, first off, where are they now? What do they think now? Okay? You need to know, where do you need them to be when you're done? You need to figure out what we agree on. You need to try to build commonality. And we're going to discuss how we find out next. Okay? We've already talked about one, children. What are some of the other things? If I'm an anti-nuclear guy and I want to shut down the Savannah River plant, and I'm coming to Aiken County, South Carolina to talk to civic groups, what's something that we agree on? What?
Safety.
Safety? Okay. Nuclear safety specifically. What else do we agree on? That's it. That's the one issue we agree on. That's it. We're done. Environmental impact? Okay. What else do we agree on? That you, I've already said that. Okay. What else do we agree on?
Do we all need jobs?
Jobs. Okay. So if I come walking in, that's an incredibly good point. So if I come walking in here and I'm saying right off the bat, you know that I want to shut down the Savannah River plant, what's the first thing everybody in Aiken County is thinking? This dude wants to take my job. Because even if you don't work out at the Savannah River plant, if they close that plant and the tens of thousands of people that work out there have to leave Aiken County, the Walmart's going to close, that car dealership is going to close, there's going to be a knock-on effect across the county. So we know that's where they are now. Where I need them to be is to understand, and I need to be able to, and jobs are probably going to be the number one issue. Okay? Because remember, when we talk about proximity and timeliness, we don't have nuclear accidents in this country. They have them in places like Japan and in the Ukraine. The environmental argument may not get any traction, but jobs will, and you're going to have to address that.
Isn't that kind of happening now, though? Because they are, shutting it down?
Yeah, but you also hear one of the big campaign promises, and Lindsey Graham, or who was it that was running for, I think Joe Wilson. Did y'all know Joe Wilson is a representative for this district in the U.S. House of Representatives? Everybody says yes, but if I had said, you know Frank Barnes is your representative, how many would you go, yeah? That's Joe Wilson. He's a pretty good guy. One of the things he ran on over and over again was that plant has got to stay open. We have got to keep the nuclear, the Vogel site, all that stuff has got to remain open. Okay, why? Well, because one of the things he's found commonality with his audience about is jobs. Okay, so if I'm going to come down here and tell you that I want to shut down the Savannah River plant, first thing you're going to ask is, okay, how am I going to feed my kids? We're back to the children. Okay, how am I going to make my car payment? So I've got to come down and I have to address that, don't I? Okay, right? Okay. Got a nod. All right, so let's talk about some methods of audience analysis. These are just some models. You're not going to pick one. You're probably going to use all four, at least some way or the other. The first one is demographic, and that's the one most people will turn you to first. When I start to do demographic analysis of my audience, what are some of the questions I'm going to ask? Where they live, residence, what else? Age, what else? Income levels, what else? Education levels, what else? Employment status, retired, which goes along with age. Okay, what else? Gender. What else? Ethnicity. What else?
Everything about the person, basically.
Belief system?
Religious affiliation may be an issue. Everything about the person is, okay, I'm going to ask you a question in a minute. Yeah, okay, the internet is not an answer, okay? Just the, let's be specific. Okay, what else are you thinking about? Y'all hit a lot of them. Okay? Political affiliation. How many members are registered Republicans? How many people are registered Democrats?
I was saying single parent home.
Single parent homes, marital status. Okay? How many children are there in every home? Okay, if you find out the average family has 3 children or 3.8 children, okay, that means there's a lot of kids in this county. That would also be determined by the number of people that are under 18 years of age. Okay? Everybody understand? I mean, it's statistics. You can break demographics down into statistics. Average age, how many people fall into these age groups? Gender identification. If you really want to get into it, in a lot of places, instead of just straight gender identification. That's a valid criteria. Okay? Religion, group membership, education, occupation, all those things. Okay? Statistical analysis of your audience. Everybody understand what we're talking about when we're talking about demographics? Where are you going to find demographic information? One source. Don't say the internet. The U.S. Census Bureau. You go into the U.S. Census Bureau, you can identify a county, and in 30 seconds you've got more data than you're ever going to be able to use. It's going to tell you the age of people, how many people live how many people there are living in each house, how many people are below the poverty line, how many, here's one. How many kids are getting free school lunches? Okay. All right. The U.S. Census Bureau is where you're going to find all that demographic stuff. You can also go to places like the State Department of Health. How many people get cancer in the state every year? How many people die of heart disease in the state every year? All that stuff is out there. Okay? Now here's one you probably never heard of before, psychographic. Psychographics deals with the values, opinions, attitudes, and beliefs of the audience when you begin your speech. Values, opinions, attitudes, and beliefs. Okay, psychographic not only deals with attitudes and beliefs about the topic, but also beliefs about you or the speaker. Okay? So, do their prior belief, especially if you're a well-known figure, do their prior beliefs about you have a significant impact on how you may want to address that audience? Okay, let's take it for instance. Let's jump in our Wayback Machine and go back to 2016 presidential election. And I don't know anybody I do know one person that goes to this church because I said this and they got really angry at me. But this Baptist church down here with the Confederate flags out front?
No.
Yeah, right down here on the highway, there's a Baptist church with a display of Confederate flags in the front yard. Okay? If Hillary Clinton was going to that church, now I'm making some horrendous generalizations about what I perceive of that church. Okay? But if you take a very liberal politician and you're going to stick them in that church, well-known, but Bernie Sanders, any well-known politician, and you stick them in that church, are they going to have some preconceived notions about what's about to happen and about who that speaker is? Okay? All right? Same thing happened when right after he got elected president, Donald Trump couldn't, they were very polite because the president of the United States, immediately after he gets elected, is usually asked to address the next convention of the NAACP. Okay? If I'm Donald Trump, is that a speech I want to give? No, because it's not gonna go well. The best you can hope for is that people will just get up and walk out. Donald Trump was smart enough, or his advisors were smart enough to tell him, don't accept the invitation. Okay? But if he had gone, would the audience's preconceived ideas about him as an individual have a significant impact on the way that speech was going to go? Okay? I thought about putting Hillary, when I said that, there was all sorts of other groups I could put Hillary in front of, but I always wound up going back to, it turned out to be subversive groups that, if I picked on somebody that's a member of that church, please come talk to me. We'll talk about it. Okay? All right. Now, the other one thing next is going to be situational awareness, and this deals with the situation of why the audience is there and what condition they're in. Different than psychographic. You're asking questions like, how big is the audience going to be? What's the occasion that brings them together? Is their attendance voluntary? Okay. Are they in a physical setting? What's the physical setting going to be? If you're addressing a mass rally and you got 5,000 people standing in a parking lot and they're all there because they agree with your political candidate that you're supporting, that has a huge difference in how you address that crowd. Okay? Let's take another instance. And everybody went through this. Everybody went to the high school in this country, went through this. All the high school juniors will report to the auditorium for a speaker on health issues. And so the entire junior class gets herded into the auditorium to hear a speech about the evils of smoking. Have y'all been to that? Yeah, everybody. Wow, it's something similar. It may have been in 6th grade. It may have been when we got the, when we were in, seniors just before we graduated, we got the talk from the Highway Patrol on drinking. Legal age in Alabama back then was 18. We had people that were 18 in our class. That was not the most effective use of that state trooper's time. And I think he kind of knew it. Okay? But if I go over here to Middle Valley High School, and I get I'm from the South Carolina Department of Public Health, and I'm getting all those students together, and they are forced to be there. And I am there to talk to them about the health hazards associated with vaping. Okay? What is that audience's attitude to me going to be? Oh, well, the only thing they really care about is at least I'm not in trigonometry right now. Okay? I'm missing American government. I do not have to hear that history guy again. Okay? That's the best you can hope for. What happens if you jump up there and you immediately start talking about the evils of vaping? Okay? Because they don't want to be there. They don't want to listen to you. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Does that change the way you have to approach the subject? How would you engage that audience?
Talk about different
I'd
music.
probably give like facts or like
They've heard all those facts before.
maybe try to
Really
make it
entertaining.
like really scary.
Make it entertaining. Maybe have like come out, e-cigarette, come out dancing. Mr. Smokey. Okay? It's an idea. What else? You were saying something?
Is it on the topic like vaping?
Like vaping. I'm here to tell you because the Department of Health and Human Services up in Washington says the #1 health threat to teenagers in the United States now is vaping. It's taking the place of cigarettes. Okay? They said we run the risk of losing all the health gains we've had in this country in the last 40 years by convincing over 2/3 of smokers to stop smoking by allowing people to start vaping. Okay?
Julie, it's there's been studies that it's like just one little pod equals to about 2 packs of cigarettes in a day.
Yeah. Okay, so what? I've heard all that before. Why do I care?
Doesn't that like cause something to me? Like, I mean, it does kind of affect.
Yeah, I'm not discussing that vaping is bad.
No, I know.
Okay.
Right.
But the kids, I mean, it's not like nobody's heard that before. How do you get them? And they're not. You have to do something to make them listen to you before you can start giving out these facts. But could they? What?
They're gonna die the next day.
They're gonna die. If we get up there and I say, you're a high school junior and you are too cool for school, and the first thing I do is walk up and go, hey, how you doing? My name's Vic McInnes. I'm from the South Carolina Department of Public Health, and you're gonna die. All right, that might work.
Probably have a lot of angry parents.
Okay, you might have some angry parents, but I don't care about the parents right now.
They could easily be shown all like the side effects, like pictures of what can happen to your lungs, to your gums. Cause I saw one thing about Jewel that it like started killing your gums, like they had like chemical burns
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah, when they blow up, they can actually burn you. There's no regulation on the batteries on those things, and they're very volatile. Okay, you guys are sort of hitting around at it. We're going to be talking about approaching a subject obliquely from the side. What if you made it their idea to talk about vaping? What? Hey, guys, everybody in here is what? What are you guys, 16, 17 years old? You already know that, so you know the answer. That's an affirmative answer. It's a rhetorical question. You got to be careful asking a rhetorical question because there's going to be that one guy in the back. I'm 15. Okay, thanks, Sonny. All right? Okay. Hey, everybody here is 16, 17 years old. I'm from the Department of Public Health. I'm here to talk to you about public health. Okay? You guys tell me, what are your concerns? What are some of the things that you think are a threat to your health? There's going to be some dude in the back that's going to yell out, unprotected sex. Okay? Yeah, okay. Obviously, that's one. What are some of the other ones?
Vaping.
Eventually, now vaping may be a little hard. If you're doing smoking, somebody's going to say smoking, okay, eventually. But vaping may be a little bit of a challenge, and you may have to work a little bit to get someone to say vaping. Okay? Smoking. Yeah, smoking, but what's kind of like smoking? Vaping. Vaping. You know, now there's something. Why are you concerned about vaping being a threat to your health? Suddenly, it's their idea to talk about vaping. Okay? Now, is that going to work every time? Is that a prescription for how to? It may not. Because here's the other problem with asking questions of the audience. Two big issues. Number one, they want to answer too badly, and everybody starts shouting out. And this is a problem I sometimes have in my classes. I ask a question, and nobody says anything. Now, for me, I'm okay with awkward. I'll stand here and stare at you. But if you've only got 45 minutes, okay, you may not be able to do that, and you may have to be ready to start, and again, in a big crowd of people, you're going to be the one person, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, well, point to people and ask them. And you're going to point to the one kid who has an anxiety disorder. And you say, hey, what do you think? And they burst into tears and everybody's ready, and everybody hates you now. It's not just they hate the guy from the public health service. They hate you personally. Okay? So there's dangers. So you have to think about those sort of things. But you need to do that and figure out why they're there. Now, purpose-oriented analysis gets confused with situational analysis, because one of the reasons that things we ask in situational analysis is why they're there. Purpose-oriented analysis focuses on why you're there, the speaker is there. What do I need to know about this audience so I can achieve my goals? Okay? Everybody understand that? All right? If I'm from the USC Aiken, and I'm coming over to talk to people at Aiken Technical College about enrolling to get you guys to move 6 miles up the road when you finish here and come to USC Aiken. Okay, I'm going to need to start asking some questions to understand who you are, not because I necessarily care, but that's going to help me achieve my end state. Okay? So if I find out, in talking to the people down in the enrollment center, 62% of the people that attend Aiken Technical College are receiving federal grants, what's one of the things I'm going to want to talk about when I talk to Aiken Technical College students? How many grants, scholarships, and things like that are available at USC Aiken? If I find out that 62% of the students here at Aiken Technical College have 2 or more kids, what's one of the things I'm going to want to talk about? Child care. If we've got a child care center on site, that's going to be my number one topic.
USC Aiken has the #1 child care center in Aiken County.
There you go. Do you work for USC Aiken?
No, I'm just an education major.
Okay, well there you go. Okay. But I mean, seriously, if I find out that everybody is 17 or 18, if I'm talking to, again, that group of juniors over at Midland Valley, am I going to hit the, hey, we've got a great child care center?
You never know.
You never know. May impact 1 or 2 of them, but I mean, if you look around this group here, I'm hoping that more people in this group have children than over at, Midland Valley. Hoping. Okay? Well, I mean, you understand what I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to get you to enroll in USC Aiken, I need to figure out what it is, who you are, so that I know how to hit the high points and how to organize my speech so that I hit what's important to you first. Okay? Now, people will say that's fairly self-centered, and they are absolutely correct. But why are you there? The presumption is you believe what you're saying, right? Okay. So where do we get data? This is the question where you don't answer the internet. Okay? Where do we find out about our audience? Okay, again, I'm from the Anti-Vaping League. I live in Newark, New Jersey, where our national headquarters are. I have been invited to come to Aiken County and talk about, not the Midland Valley, we're going to skip that part. But I've been invited to come to Aiken County to talk to the people of Aiken County. Where am I going to find out information about the Aiken County people? We've already identified one, the U.S. Census Bureau.
In Aiken County on the grounds, walking around.
Okay, but if I don't have any money, if I've got enough money to fly down, do my speech, and then fly back the same day, where do I find out about Aiken County?
Colleges?
What?
The colleges?
The colleges? Every college has a website, right? Aiken Technical College has a website. Do you guys know that?
Yes.
Aiken Technical College also has other things online, and what are they? Like what?
Blackboard?
Well, you'd have to hack into Blackboard. You need a
Oh,
password.
you're saying like on their website?
Yeah, where else would you find, if you're on the internets, where would you, what else could you look for to find out stuff about Aiken Technical College?
Calendar with the special days.
Okay, that's all on the website. What's not on the website that would give you information about Aiken Technical College?
Or like a brochure. I don't even know what the question is, I don't think.
Yeah.
Where would you find Aiken Technical College's online presence? Where would you find Kim Kardashian's online presence?
Social media?
Social media, dear Lord. Every other class I go, where else would you find Aiken Technical College on the internet? Twitter. Yeah, I'm 57 years old. Okay? You can read their tweets. Okay? Do y'all know that Aiken Technical College has an Instagram account, a Twitter account, a Facebook?
That's not how we guessed it because no way it
Okay, you need to do that because if you have a snow day, that's where they're posting cancellations. You look on the websites, that's the 57-year-old dude answer. Okay, I'll just go look at their website. Click, 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 click.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you type it in, it's like, ba-bam, you try to go on another one, ba-bam.
Yeah, I know that is annoying as hell. But yeah, no, I check their Facebook. They post everything on their Facebook feed. They send it out on Instagram. They send it out on Twitter. Okay, everybody has got a Twitter account now. Okay, okay. Most, I know for a fact that there are several teeny tiny little Baptist churches in Aiken County that have Twitter accounts. Okay?
Sounds dangerous.
What?
So that sounds dangerous.
According to you, well, let's just get rid of that whole First Amendment thing and we'll be fine. Okay? Where else are you going to find information?
That's at the newspaper.
Newspapers! Anybody know what the name of the Aiken newspaper is? The Aiken Standard, published daily, I found out. I was really impressed. Anybody know what the name of the North Augusta paper is? No, that's the Augusta Chronicle. It's the Star, the North Augusta Star. I don't know, does it publish daily? Do you know?
No, I don't think so.
I think it's like twice a week or maybe, it's more than weekly. Okay, and then there's the Augusta Chronicle. Okay, if you want to read what the angry old dudes are thinking this week, because that's the only people that write for that paper. Okay? Newspapers, what else? And no, you do not have to get a physical newspaper. All three of those newspapers have sites online. What else?
What was your question?
Where can you find information about Aiken?
The news?
The news? Newspaper, like talking about what kind of, when you say the news, what do you mean?
On TV?
TV. Channel 6, Channel 12, Channel 26. I think that's 3. I don't know. The only reason I watch it is because I like to see that. There's a weather guy on whatever the CBS affiliate is, who's like just graduated from Augusta University, and he always looks like he's wearing his dad's suit. That's the only, you know who I'm talking about?
It just looks too big, or?
Oh yeah, it's always the collar always comes down here, the tie's too big, the jacket doesn't fit well. I swear to you, he also does. I watch CBS Saturday morning.
Like his mom brushes his hair.
Oh yeah, too, and he's got that that uber nerd haircut where it's just like, oh yeah, it's hilarious. And he's always trying to be casual, just a little too hard. It's like, hey, you're gonna need your umbrella out there today. And it's like, going, this is your first paid gig, isn't it? Okay? That's the reason I watch the local news. But the local news, everybody, if you Google Augusta or Aiken TV stations,
Radio stations.
or radio stations, all news stations, okay? You will be able to find them, and then they will have, first thing on all those news stations, radio and television, they will have a list of local stories that you can look at, okay? And the more popular the story is, you can see how many people have read that. So if I'm reading something about a pedestrian that got killed in Augusta or here in Aiken County, and I find out that it's got 15,000 views, okay, but one about some sort of veterinary illness is affecting the horse population in Aiken County, and it's got 60,000 views. What are the people in Aiken County worried about? The horses more than the people.
You can also read.
I'm not kidding. I tell you, I found that out the hard way in Aiken County. What?
So you can also read the comments and see what people are like commenting under it.
Yeah, but you have to be very careful
Yeah.
when you read the comments because, nobody comes out in the comments of a news story and says, hey, this was fairly accurate coverage, and I appreciate it.
But you can see if
Yeah.
it's important to them or not.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. What else? What? How about aikencity.gov? aikencounty.gov. Every city, every county will have a website or some sort of online presence. Have any of y'all ever been through Rennes over in Georgia? How many people live in Rennes? What do you think? 25, 30? Okay. I mean, it is a tiny town. You go through, literally one stoplight. Okay, it is a...
Oh, like a little bit over 200, 300.
Yeah, they don't have a website. They have a Facebook
Two
page.
big neighborhoods.
Yeah, City of Rennes. You go to Facebook and search for City of Rennes. That's their sole online presence because it's free. Okay, but they publish notices there. Okay, city council meeting will be this time. This is what's on the agenda. You can find stuff out from their Facebook page. Okay, one of the guys yesterday came up with what's that thing you buy in the 7-Eleven or you buy at the gas station? The arrest report page. The jail report. Dude, look at that. If it's online, find out what kind of crimes people are committing. If they've got 62 people that were arrested in the last 24 hours and 48 of them were arrested for production of meth, what does that tell you? There's a problem. Okay? Only time I ever bought one of those was when I was checking out. I was getting Coke at the 7-Eleven before I went to work because I had to work at night. And I look over there and I see my boss's picture on the jail report. And I'm like going, I'll have one of those. How much does that cost? $1.85. I would pay $5 for that today. Yeah. Gotten in an argument with his wife and things did not go well from there. Okay? Here's some of the sources, mass media. We've already talked about that. Okay? Background of the organization. If you're being invited by an organization to come speak, Google that organization. Okay? Jump online and find out what you can about them. Politicians these days are the stupidest people in the world when it comes to this, because how many times in the last year have you seen a Republican wind up standing next to a neo-Nazi and they didn't know who they were talking to? Okay? And correct me if I'm wrong. We've got members of the U.S. House of Representatives. We got the President of the United States retweeting stuff from neo-Nazi groups. Because they don't bother to take the time to Google and find out who it is. Okay? If you have an opportunity, you can come and talk to local people. If you live in the area, certainly you can. Public opinion polls, be very careful about using public opinion polls because I can structure a public opinion poll to say whatever I want to say. Okay? Because I got something in the mail the other day. And they wanted me to respond to a public opinion poll for President Trump. Answer one question and please mail it back in. You know what the question is? What is your stance on border security? Do you agree with the president that we need to protect our borders and build a wall? Or the second choice was, do you believe that the borders should be open and criminals should be allowed to come and go as they wish? And I'm like going, yeah, I'm going to pick B. I like criminals coming across. Okay? But somebody will go out and say that once they do that and they get the answers back in, they will go out and say, hey, 90, and you see this all the time on Fox News. Fox News, Sean Hannity will put up a poll, and who is Sean Hannity naturally going to talk to, going to be watching his show? Right-wing people, so you know they're going to, and he comes out with like, and it's stunning to him that 83% of our viewers believe we need to build a wall on the border. I'm just wondering why the other 17% are watching that show. Okay? Ashton.
I'm not saying that I'm gonna do it, but there's actually a thing that President Trump announced, and they have a GoFundMe that's over millions of dollars already. If any students, college students, help build a wall, they'll automatically get student loan forgiveness.
So, number one, no one can offer that. Student loans are owned by the banks that gave you the loan, so nobody has the authority to do that. Number two, the guy that raised the $22 million to build the wall, GoFundMe finally looked into the guy and found out that he was a fraudster and is giving all that money back. So before you just go, oh, GoFundMe, yeah, you know, I used to work for a veterans nonprofit, and one of the things we had to combat, you guys know that there are over 200,000 veterans nonprofits in the United States right now? Most of them are just taking your money. And so you need to do research. Okay, anyway, moving on. Focus groups. Everybody know what a focus group is? I can't talk to every Aiken Technical College student. If I can get 10 of you in a room and sit down and talk to you, that will give me, I can use that as a basis for knowledge for all 3,000 students. What's the problem with that?
You gotta get them to show up.
You got to get them to show up. So usually, and how do you get them to show up? Cost money. Focus groups are expensive. Second of all, how do you know that that group is representative of the entire campus? If I got 10 nursing students, is that going to be relevant to the 10, to the couple of hundred general education students we have? No. Okay. Then finally, you can look at existing data. Where do you find existing data? The internet. I can though. That's why I said it. Okay, the internet, the World Wide Webs. Okay. Ultimately, your success is going to depend on your audience's perception of your credibility. Now, one of the things that you may want to do is if people don't know you from Adam, you may want to cite some people that they trust. Okay? Why does that make you laugh?
Because, like, when you say cite some people, like, I've had somebody, like, cite, like, some rap song, and like, you gonna do what Lil Wayne tell you to do? What if he say something, X, Y, and Z? I'm like,
Okay. Yes, you are correct. I won't argue that. Yeah. Lil Wayne told me to go out and smoke weed. That's why I'm doing it. That's okay. Yeah, if you're going to cite a source, you may want to understand the whole source. Okay, so you say Lil Wayne is not okay with vaping, but he's okay with weed, so let's go do that. Okay? And I have to catch myself because sometimes I say Lil Wayne, okay? Which makes me sound like exactly what I am. Okay? But if I'm over at Midland Valley High School, I come in there, I'm a 57-year-old dude, and I start talking to people. Who can I talk to that would be relevant and meaningful to that group?
Favorite artists.
Like who? Because I'm not naming names. I did that yesterday, and I got told point blank, high schoolers don't give a damn about Kesha. So let's not. I thought I was being all hip, and I had 5 people all at once against that wall go, no. All right, so who would they listen to?
Cardi B.
Cardi B. Did you see her on Colbert? Oh, I love Cardi B. She's awesome.
Kevin Gates.
Who?
Kevin Gates.
Kevin Gates? Okay. Okay. All right. What about, and this, I said this last class, I said, what about LeBron James? And the guy front row, he sold out and went to L.A. No. Okay. It's like, damn. Okay. What about Steph Curry?
Yeah.
I mean, people like Steph Curry, right?
No.
They like his wife.
Yeah.
Okay, Steph Curry's wife. All right. What?
You can always say
Kobe? Except he's old now. He's retired.
Yeah. Still, LeBron.
The elder statesman at 36. Okay? Who else? Michael Jordan, I mean, Michael Jordan, I mean, he's my age. Is he relevant?
No.
Okay.
Other than certain shoes.
Definitely.
What about politicians? What politicians could you talk to, or about famous people that aren't in sports or performing?
Obama.
Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama would be good. Who else?
That's it.
That's it. I'm not gonna listen to nobody else from politics. Okay.
Bernie Sanders?
Bernie Sanders, curmudgeonly old white dude, he gets a lot of traction. He's everybody's grumpy grandpa. Okay, who else? Is there anybody else?
Hillary Clinton with the
Yo.
hot sauce in her bag.
It just
Fake.
Yeah, with the hot. Well, okay, let's hit that real quick. Anybody remember that interview with Hillary Clinton,
Yeah.
where they asked her what's in her handbag, which was, they admitted later on, was a question that one of her aides had given them to ask her what's in her handbag. And she goes, well, I've got hot sauce in my handbag. And everybody was like going,
She stole that from Beyonce.
even the guys
So
that,
bad.
did y'all go back and look at that if you can find it, if you want to talk
Pandering
about
so bad.
what? Oh yeah,
She
she's
was
just
pandering
like,
so bad.
and even the people that are interviewing her are going like, I mean, these are radio people, and there's one thing you never want on radio is dead air, and they're like sitting there, they don't know what to say. Okay, but find somebody, cite sources that people are going to respect. Make sure, in some cases, like we've already talked about, you may need to be more oblique. Oblique means coming at things from an angle. Okay? Like I said, if I get up there and I say, hey, listen, I'm here to talk about the evils of vaping. Going to be here for the next 44 minutes. Everybody sit down and be quiet. Okay? What's going to happen? Oh, they'll sit down and be quiet. Well, they may not. Yeah. Yeah, well, I was famous in my high school for getting pulled out of 3 of those assemblies. I had a change of life when I was when I joined the Army. Up to that point, I was a bit of a smart aleck. And yes, it was our vice principal's name was Mr. Miller, and people were well aware of the phrase, McGinnis, out! And I'm like going, I was a jerk. I admit it. Then finally, watch for cues from the audience. What do we call cues from the audience?
Head nods. Head shakes.
What is that all? We got feedback. Continue to do your audience analysis while you're giving the speech. You will continue to do your audience analysis after the speech is over. Because if you get a chance, you ask them, hey, how'd you think that speech went? How do you think it went over? Okay? Is there anything I could have done differently that would have made more impact? Okay? When you're done, call the people who invited you and ask them how they think it went. Continue to get feedback. Closing thoughts. We would like for everybody's speech to be meaningful to everyone in the audience and impact them and affect them each individually. Is that ever going to happen?
No.
Not even in a group this small. It's like, I mean, everybody look around. Stop writing for a second. I know there's stuff up here that you haven't written down yet. I'll leave it up there. You won't die. Look around the room. You haven't looked around the room yet. I'm looking at people. Seriously, look around the room. It's a pretty diverse group, right? I mean, it's not as, I mean, you can tell just by, I would assume there are, we have a variety of ethnicities. We have a variety of genders. We have a variety, I would have to guess, probably different socioeconomic classes. Okay? We don't have that much diversity in age. I've got some classes where I've got 60-year-olds in my class and 17-year-olds all in the same class. Am I going to say anything that's going to be relevant in the same way to everybody?
No.
But does that mean I can't make it relevant in some way to everybody? Okay, if I can't, then I'm not doing my job. In this environment right here, right now, if I can't make what I'm talking to you about relevant to you, then I'm not doing my job. You may engage with it in different ways, okay? But you should all at least engage with the information I'm trying to give you. If you go back to purpose orientation and say in the audience situation, okay, situational analysis, you guys are here to get a good grade. I know many of you feel like you're here because you were required to be here, but you're still here to get a good grade. So I can at least reach out to almost everybody in this class and say, you want to get a better grade? You need to listen to me. Okay? And that becomes my purpose, to keep you engaged in that idea of a grade. Now, I have another purpose, which is to make you all better public communicators and to teach you critical how to consume communications critically. Okay? But that's for me to know. You guys don't have to worry about that. I will structure that as part of the grade thing. Everybody with me? I don't have to hit you over the head with, I'm going to make you all good public speakers. Because I know right off the bat, when I say, I'm going to make everybody here good public speakers, you're all going to be up here speaking, immediately people are going to go, I hate public speaking, I hate you. I don't really want to be here. And you know what? I'm going to have a bad attitude. Okay? So I try to engage. I try to be a little entertaining, self-deprecating, focus on the grades, focus on the fact that you'll make more money if you become better speakers. Okay? So we analyze the audience as a single whole or constituent groups. Now, when I address a group of 8,000 at Auburn University, okay, could I analyze that? All the individuals? No, not really. But I know that there are some people that are member fraternities and Greek organizations. I know that there are the majority, about 65% were not. I know that we had a massive engineering school, so I have to talk to engineers. We have that event, it was pretty much liberal arts. So we had the College of Liberal Arts going to be there. I could look up and research the ethnic background of the campus. Okay? All right? So we can break it into a few key components. Or we can analyze it, if it's a big enough group, we can analyze it as a whole. All right? What you're seeing more and more is we have the ability to garner more and more, and you'll hear this all the time. The last thing that came out, and the big thing about the midterm elections, were Democrats that were running in districts that Donald Trump had won in the election. So they're like talking about the Ohio 16th district, and they are looking at that small district and talking about it in great detail because that's just a key component of the bigger whole. Okay? Everybody with me? What questions do you have? We got 2 more things we got to do today. So don't start packing up. What questions have you got? Who said no questions? Were you elected class spokesman? Is that what happened here while I wasn't looking?
No one's talking and it's awkward.
So you nominated yourself. I am the self-appointed class spokesman. You will pay me every day to say no questions to move class along. I'm also well aware of the fact that there's somebody back there going, if you ask any questions, I will stab you with a pin. No, I do not advocate violence. Okay? All right. Anybody really seriously have any questions about audience analysis? Remember that you have to do audience analysis because if you can't communicate with the audience and if you can't find some sort of commonality with the audience, you're wasting your time and you're just pissing them off and you're going to actually do worse than if you had not even showed up.
So if we're picking our topics and some people don't like it.
Okay. Let me say this for this class. This is kind of an artificial environment. So you don't really have to, audience analysis, you just sort of fly over that kind of quickly in this environment. Okay? Because no, you can't, if you're really passionate about bass fishing and you want to talk about bass fishing and that's something you're really passionate about, I'm okay with that. Just be aware of the fact that might not, if this group was gathered outside for some other purpose, that might not be the best topic. Okay? And are you passionate about bass fishing?
No.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Just thought I'd ask. Been a hell of a thing if she said yeah. Okay? All right, any other questions? Okay, let's move on to something else. Okay, I started showing this clip last semester. I'll tell you the backstory after we watch it. Okay? Because we've discussed cultural issues before, right? Okay, and about how different cultures interact and how communication varies between cultures. This cropped up, it was last semester, last year during the Brett Kavanaugh hearings. I had debated in great detail whether or not I was actually going to discuss it in class. I decided I was not, but then I saw this, and I sort of ran this, but I want to talk to you about it a little bit differently when it's than you may think when it's done.
Last Thursday's Supreme Supreme Court confirmation hearing was seen by millions and millions of Americans, including author Rebecca Traister.
If you watched the testimony of Christine Blasey Ford and Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh on Thursday, you might have noticed that the two expressed themselves differently.
I am here today not because I want to be. I am terrified.
Blasey Ford, a professor of psychology, spoke carefully and clearly as she told the Senate Judiciary Committee about being assaulted by Kavanaugh back in high school. Blasey Ford's voice was measured and polite. It cracked, but she did not weep, did not yell. She was solicitous, deferential. The story she told was awful. From the alleged assault itself, to being brought forward into a national spotlight against her will, to the hatred she and her family have incurred since landing in that spotlight. She had every reason to be impassioned, angry. But women are taught early that if we express anger, we will not be taken seriously. We will sound childlike, emotional, unhinged, hysterical. And so many of us take care not to express our anger, lest we undercut the very point we want to make. The fury of powerful white men is heard differently in this country. Always has been. We admire the rage of our country's founders. Give me liberty or give me death.
They all gonna start paying their fair share of taxes.
And we're going to Washington, D.C. to drain the swamp.
In 2016, we heard a lot about how skillfully both Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump channeled the fury of their voters.
To improve your lives and make our country stronger. And
meanwhile, whenever Hillary Clinton spoke too loudly into a microphone, people complained that she was yelling and sounded shrill. It's not just that white men are allowed to be angry and women are not. It's that white men's anger can be used to their benefit.
This confirmation process has become a national disgrace.
And so, when Brett Kavanaugh spoke on his own behalf, he yelled. He wept furious tears. He challenged and berated members of the Judiciary Committee. As I listened, I understood that this approach might well bolster Kavanaugh's case. That's because we reflexively understand the anger of white men, especially when used to convey how unfairly they've been treated, as righteous and correct. So if Brett Kavanaugh is ultimately confirmed to the Supreme Court, remember that he had at hand a tool, a weapon of self-defense that has never been offered to women. He could be angry on his own behalf.
So I stick that in here at this point for the purpose of, kill that so it doesn't start back up. Okay? So I saw that. I was with my wife and she saw it and she said, I became very, very, I'm not a quiet person, okay? But I didn't talk for a while. She finally asked me what was going on. I said, you remember that thing? And she said, yeah. And I said, it just occurred to me that if I'm teaching my students, all of my students, to be better communicators, there are cultural issues within this country that I'm not addressing. She was going like, what do you mean? And I said, all the examples of speakers that I have that are speaking passionately, speaking effectively, I don't have a single video of a woman speaking. Not a one. And I was like, and I've been doing this for 30 years. And I started thinking about all those classes. And I called my two daughters, who my oldest daughter took public speaking at Auburn University. My youngest one is taking it at Mississippi State. And so let me ask you a question. When you took public speaking, how many videos of women speakers did you see? And they both said the same thing. I can't remember one. Okay? So that was a fault on my part. So what you're going to see over the next couple of weeks, I know, guys, you may think I'm leaving you out, but I'm not, because these women we're going to be looking at, like the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Malalai Yousafzai, are fantastic speakers, and you can learn a ton. But I want to make sure that everybody in the class understands that there are public speaking role models that you can find out there. Okay? And you're going to start seeing those. Because I want to, one of the big things that I always cared about, I spent 30 years of my life working for the Department of Defense, trying to make sure this country was safe. Now I want to spend the rest of my career trying to make sure this country is better. Okay? And that's one of the reasons why I come in here and you hear that sounds corny, and it sounds like a 4th of July speech, but it's true. Okay? All right? So I don't ask for questions about that, because then people start yelling at me about stuff. Okay? All right? Let me tell you what's going to happen on Tuesday when you come into class. Impromptu speeches. Everybody got their impromptu speech topics? Pass them to the center and then pass them forward.
I just gotta print mine out. I was gonna try to in before class, but I'm a minute late, I don't want to be any later.
Speak to me after class. Okay, so I'm getting all these topics in. I got 100 students that are providing 3 topics each. That gives me roughly 300 topics to choose from. All right? When I walk into class, well, I'll already be in class on Tuesday when you guys get here. I will have an envelope. In that envelope will be 30, 35 slips of paper. I will do what I always do because I don't take volunteers. I will have somebody pick a number. I will have somebody pick another number. And that's how I will start. And I will call that first person randomly. Okay? And they will get up and they will come back to the back of the class where I sit. And I will say, here. And they will pull a slip of paper. They will look at that slip of paper. And then they will utter some obscenity in my general direction. They will show me the piece of paper. And just to egg things on, I'm going to go, that's a great topic. I would love to give that speech. They will utter something else probably profane about me and my parents. And then they will leave the room. That desk and that chair will be sitting outside. They will take their note card. That is all they need. Well, a pen. Some sort of writing implement. I will have my little watch or my phone on my desk timing. When we hit about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, I will call the next person. Without grumbling, without, oh man, why me? You will get up, you will come back, you will reach into my envelope, draw that slip of paper. You will mutter something bad about me and then show me the slip of paper. I will say, ooh, you were so lucky. That's a great topic. You will utter something, mumble something else bad about me, and then you will leave. When that person goes out, the person that's already out there will come in. They will plant their feet and start talking. Okay? 2 to 3 minutes. I strongly recommend you get to know somebody sitting close to you so that they can go, yeah, you got 2 minutes there and you can bail. Okay? All right, everybody understand that? Yeah. Yes?
So we can just stop if they tell us, like, stop.
You know what? Well, okay, we'll get to that in just a second. When that person finishes talking, if they talk for 15 seconds, I'll wait a little bit. But when that person finishes talking, assuming they go to the 2-3 minute range, I will call another name. You will come back and you will draw your slip of paper. You will show it to me. Then you will walk out, and when you walk out, that person will walk in, and we will do that in rotation until we get to everybody in the class. Big class, we may not get through everybody on Tuesday. We may have to push the final ones back till Thursday. Okay? But again, remember, if you don't have a previously notified excused absence on Tuesday, you'll get a 0 for this event.
This one's
Okay?
graded.
This one what?
Is this one graded?
Graded 20 points. I'll tell you about how we're going to do that in a second.
Can I take my phone with me outside to?
No, you're not going to. You need to
So
Google.
it's just-
You need to Google hot dogs.
No.
That's the kind of topic you're going to get.
Okay.
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 I'm not going to ask you what's the. This is not Jeopardy. Okay. This country has the largest trade deficit with the United States. Oh, if only I knew. Okay. No. It's going to be what's your favorite ballpark food. And here's the trick. And here's why I don't put up with. I don't know anything about this topic. Okay. Everybody knows. Everybody yell out when I say 1, 2, 3. Everybody yell out a ballpark food. Food you can get at a ballpark. Ready? 1, 2. What the hell is wrong with you?
I can't stand when I have to wait to say something.
I'm so glad I love teaching because I don't get paid enough for this. I'll tell you that right now. All right. The nachos. Let's take that. Is there anybody in here who could not name a ballpark food? You've never been to a ballpark? You don't know what they eat at ballparks? Well, then maybe you would want to just talk about, okay, so if you get ballpark foods, which you won't get because I've already told you, okay, you could get up and talk about ballparks. You can talk about hot dogs. You can talk about nachos. You can talk about baseball. All I need to see is something that indicates to me that was ideas you put together outside. Okay? Here's why I say that, and here's why you show me that slip of paper. I'm not stupid. I've done this before. When I was way back when, in 1986, I had a guy come pull the topic, and he's going like, great, I got this. Comes back in, delivers a dynamite speech with an attention device. He had a statement of purpose. He had a preview of his main points. It just rocked all the way through it. And it was a great speech, lasted 2 minutes and 52 seconds. And I looked at him and I said, "Could I see your slip of paper?" "Why do you want to see my slip of paper?" "Because strangely enough, what you just talked about was not a topic that I had written down." "What do you mean?" "You brought in a pre-prepared speech, and that's not going to fly." Okay? He got a 0 for that event because he didn't. So when I look at that, that makes sure you come back in and you get at least use that as the idea for your speech. Okay? Do you have to stick word for word with what's on that slip of paper? You do not. If you want to free associate and come up with something that's kind of related to it, that's fine too. What's your favorite restaurant? You can talk about, health inspections. As long as it's tangentially related to what's on the paper. So that way you can't say, "I don't know anything about this topic." And it's also going to be stuff like ice cream. There will be no questions. They will just be topics. Okay? It's not going to be what's your favorite ice cream because that limits you. Okay? It will be ice cream. All right? So and I stopped doing this because I got complaints from this class, and I realized I used to throw it open to the class. I'll say the day before we did this, I'll say, "You give me a topic, and I will come in. I'll come in 5 minutes late, class agree on the topic, and I'll do an impromptu speech." Well, the class came up with, "What's your favorite feminine hygiene product?" And I'm like, and I did it, and what I talked about was whether or not feminine hygiene products should be tax-free. In the state of South Carolina, groceries are tax-free because they're essential. You have to have them. You don't eat, you die. Okay? But then I got complaints about that was apparently the least offensive idea that had flown around. A lot of people in the class got upset by some of the ideas, and I said, "Okay, my class, I'm not in control. We're not going to do that anymore." Okay? But by taking what they told me and taking it in a slightly different direction, I maintained the topic, but I gave a speech that I was comfortable with. Everybody understand? Okay, here's how you're going to get a 20 out of 20. Everybody ready? Mm-hmm. Pay close attention. First criteria is going to be nonverbal delivery. If you walk in here and go, plant your feet roughly shoulder width apart, keep your feet weight evenly distributed on your feet, and try to gesture at least a little bit, you got 5 points.
With the whole stomp too? Like we need to.
If you want to do the stomp, if that makes you, empowers you, good, go ahead, do it. Okay? That's me over dramatizing for training for teaching
I didn't know
purposes.
if you needed to hear that we were like.
No, I want you to come in, I want you to jump real high and land on both feet right in your position, ready to go. Okay? If you get up here in the next category, you'll have nonverbal, which will be standing here like this. The next will be vocal delivery. If you get up here and speak, you got 5 points. So you walk in this door. How you doing? That's all I got. That's 10 points. Okay? Everybody understand that? Third will be time. 2 to 3 minutes, and I mean 2 to 3 minutes. If you end at 1:59, you'll get a 0 out of 5. If you go to 3, you'll get 3:01, you'll get a 0 out of 5. That's why I tell you, and if you've got your phone out, if you need to have one of your partner's phones out so they can time you and give you the 2, that's fine. That's part of this exercise, is being flexible, and when you hit 2 minutes, begin to figuring it out on your feet, up here, how to wind up and get off the stage. Okay? Everybody understand that? But remember, if your phone goes off during this speech, you lose 5 points. Okay? Everybody understand that? Because if you stand up here and don't talk and go sit down, you got your 5 points, but if your phone goes off, you're back to a 0. Okay? Everybody with me? Fourth category will be organization. I expect you to have a statement of purpose. I expect you at the end of your speech to restate that purpose, and I would like to see you have a couple of main points in the middle. Okay? This you will be possible to get 3 out of 5 on. If you hit 2 of those, I'll give you a 3. If you hit all 3 of them, I'll give you a 5. So if you get up here and say, today my purpose is to talk to you about my favorite food, hot dogs. I'm going to talk to you about what you put on a hot dog and give you the name of some good hot dog brands. And you do all that, and then at the end you go, that's it, I'm done. Okay? You didn't have a restatement of your purpose, you get 3 out of 5. Okay, but if you then say, so today I've talked to you about hot dogs. and you sit out, that's 5 for 5. Okay? Everybody understand? I know everybody sits there and thinks, I'm not going to have 3 days to practice my speech. I'm going to die. You're not going to die. Again, hey, that's 10 points. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about that? How many of y'all have already entered the anticipation phase of performance apprehension? Oh, God, y'all are going to have a long weekend. Okay? That's all I can say. Historically, having done this for, God, this makes me sound so ancient. Having taught these classes for over 3 decades now, the days that I remember being the most fun in the classroom were impromptu speech days. Last semester, we had somebody that worked at Outback. I forget what her topic was. Who's your favorite boss? She talked about how she hates the manager at Outback. Okay? It was the funniest damn speech I'd ever heard. And we had a running joke for the entire semester about the Outback Steakhouse. Okay? It was awesome. Okay? So there's no reason, like I said, and again, even if you get up here and you go, hey, I'm out. Okay? 10 points, you lost 10 points out of 500 available for the semester. And ain't going to devastate your final grade. Okay, it's like 2% of your final grade. All right, anybody have any questions? Did have a good weekend? As always, don't wind up in jail, the hospital, or the newspaper. We will see you guys on Tuesday. Yes. Oh yeah, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I just had to go print it out real quick because I was going to print it out.
Okay, go get it.
Class, but I didn't want
Stick it, you know where my mailbox is?
I do.
Put it in my mailbox.
Okay, wait, it's on that little hallway thing.
It's in that little, in the printer room.
Whatever she's got bronchitis or...
Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah. You been late? With your nachos? Dude, you freaked me out, man. 1, 2, nachos! Right, let me get my glasses here.
I wanted you to show you the oral speech that I want to show you.
Okay, are you?
Simone.
Simone. Okay. Right, Simone. We already had 2 absences, and that's your charge. Okay. You need to be aware of that.
I know, that's what I was trying to tell my mom I need to do here.
Okay.
I can't miss a class. I tell her and I stress it.
You need to make sure, you also need to make sure you're on time.
Okay,
So I'm gonna need
is
the
it-
calculator from like 1 to 240. Where are you gonna possibly be looking?
1 to 2.
So how many-
Yeah, still we have the academics.
Do I have, so I have how many absences?
You have 2 absences,
it's in this
and
building.
you've got 3 targets.
Okay.
And how many
So-
targets does it make one absent?
General policy is 3 targets equal 1 absence, so you're technically already in
Okay, just show
trouble.
me after class,
You know,
so I can just return
just
it
be
to you.
aware of it as we go forward.
See ya.
If it is, we're gonna have another conversation, okay?
Okay.
All right, what are we looking for? No, it doesn't have a speaker in the box. You got it
So,
already?
just kidding, I didn't know where the
Okay.
printing mailbox thing was.
Okay. Was that the Melissa McCarthy movie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I've
You
seen
seen
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to consider that to be, used in the class.
You see how she's like all over the place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't, and I got some people really mad at me last semester when I said I don't show speeches from the president because I don't like to show don't do this speeches. And it's really rare to find our current president giving a good speech. So, yeah. But no.
What can I do for my, I know I can be early, but it's just so hard.